But what do we do with all of these things? See, David was one that because he was off and he took what his father gave him seriously. And sometimes we despise things. We think that all of a sudden something magical is going to happen, that if I get a lot of responsibility and a lot of money that comes with that responsibility, somehow it's just going to make things better for me. But the reality is that if I don't know how to care for the small things in life, I'm not going to know how to take care of the larger things in life. And the things of God are things that matter. And David, in following his spiritual leader, his father at the time, David cared for those sheep, even to the point to where he would put his own life on the line to fight a lion or a bear on behalf of the sheep. And he not only felt that way about his father's sheep. One day when his father gave him a small assignment to say, here, take some supplies to your brothers and go come back and tell me what it's like at the battlefront where they are right now. David took the supplies, and when he got up there, he saw something that just really bothered him. He saw the army of God. He saw God's soldiers hiding. And he saw an uncircumcised Philistine calling out down in the valley, saying that I defy the armies of the living God. This was an irritant in David's soul. David asks a question. He says, what will be done for the man that kills this uncircumcised Philistine? Now his brother overheard the question, and his brother, who had to just watch him be anointed king in front of him, said, look, man, you're conceited. Why don't you go back down and take care of those few sheep of our fathers? And David said, can I even talk? And then he asked the question again. He says, what will be done for the man who removes this problem from Israel? It was told to him what was going to happen. And then it had even gone to Saul. And Saul said to David, you are just a boy. You are not a trained man who can go and fight against this giant. David said, listen, when the bear came against my father's sheep, I defeated the bear. And when the lion came against my father's sheep, I defeated the lion. See, before we go into fighting giants, we need to have a track record of fighting things and having victories in places that are not necessarily public. Sometimes we need to have victories in the places where we are by ourselves. And we need to be able to care for the Father's stuff even when everybody's not watching. David told Saul, he says, you don't have to worry about it any longer. I'll fight this Philistine. Saul said, well, here, wear my armor. David tried it on. He said, I can't fight with these things on. I've not tested with those. I have to use what I'm accustomed to. And David went and used what he was accustomed to, a sling and a few small stones. And it only took one. He slung and he slayed that giant. See, when God is for you, he's greater than the world against you. Matter of fact, there was a Bible study, I found it in Akron. It was called God in Us For Us. It was taken from Romans 8:31, which says that, what should we say then in response to these things? If God be for us, who can stand against us? And that is true to this very day. Yes, we do have a lot going on in this world right now, and we need to use some wisdom, and we need to use some precautionary measures in our lives. But the one thing is this, just like David, we need to get along with God and be in a place and be still so we can hear from him. David's family and those that were discontented and those that were in debt and those that were in distress, they surrounded themselves around David. And David went and took his family and he went down to the king of Moab and he asked the king of Moab, he said, would you watch over my family while I go back in the cave and get this stuff figured out and see what God is going to do with me? David got his family to a place of safety. Saints, listen. Don't try to be super saint. Get your family to a place of safety. And there's no safer place than in the presence of God. And in this present darkness, we are given precautionary measures on how to go about dealing with this current situation that we are facing as it relates to coronavirus. Men of God, get your families to safe places. Women of God, get your family to safe places. And then get back to praying. David went back into the cave. And it says that those that were in debt, those that were in distress, and those that were discontented, it says they were 400 in number. And they joined David in that cave, man. Oh, how much room there is for others in our place of prayer. When David had gone back into the stronghold, he was approached by a prophet named Gad, and Gad came and told him, he says, come out of that stronghold and go down to Judah. The name Judah meant praise. That's what it means. It means praise. See, when we come out of our prayer time, we need to be in a place of praise, because God, who we will speak to and listen to in prayer, and he will be the same God that will lead us forth in going towards praise. He says, come out of the prayer time now. It's time to praise. There's going to be a time to where this too will pass. And our prayers, we would have met with God and been with God's people and been surrounded and had our families go to a place of safety. But in the midst of it, we need to look for a word where God says it's time to come out. Not that we're just in search of praise parties, because David said, I'm looking for God's direction. And there is nothing greater than to be directed by God and to do exactly what God says to do. See, David went in the cave, but he did not cave in to the pressures around him. And I'm encouraging you, saints, not to cave in. Go into the cave. Go into aloneness. Don't go into isolation. In your alone time, go and spend time with God. And go in before him in earnest and ask him, God, how do I navigate these waters? How do I get through this situation? How do I overcome this enemy? How do I penetrate this present darkness? How do I pierce this present darkness? How do I walk on this storm? How do I weather this storm? And in doing so, be in the cave, but don't cave in. Don't cave in to the fears around us. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of love, of power, of a sound mind. In Romans 8:15 it says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a spirit of adoption by which we can cry out, Abba, Father. Our Father has given us some things to take care of. And some of us have taken those things very seriously. And we have fought lions and we have fought bears. Many of us have even defeated giants. And we've been anointed for things that are beyond our imagination. But with that being said, doesn't mean that we're not going to have spears thrown at us. Does not mean that we're not going to face difficult times. We're in difficult times right now, people of God. And it's time to go into the cave. But don't cave in. Have a great evening. God bless you, RC Life family. And as always, keep up the God work.